Heading towards Earth, a spaceship is about to arrive carrying a message. A trap of sorts for Vegeta. The ship lands in an open field, with some sort of arena nearby, and a sole individual standing in the middle of it. Off the ship steps Paragus, as he encounters the person in front of him, Cell. Today, we'll be looking at a unique what-if mini, one that's more of a hypothetical battle of sorts. A hypothetical fight that's been debated forever. We'll be discussing a scenario where Cell ends up fighting BROLY. But how will this fight even start, and how will it end? For this video, we'll set a like goal of 3,500 likes. If we hit that, it'll let me know you want to see more hypothetical fights like this one. Anyways, let's begin this story. Paragus steps off his ship. This does seem like the planet that Vegeta's on, but that's definitely not Vegeta. Granted, the ship just landed in a random place on this planet, and it was one of the many places where they detected a power level. But still, this power is incredibly high, and it's not something they could just ignore. Not to mention, the man they landed in front of is walking towards the ship. It's Cell. Cell doesn't even really question this. He thinks it's just another army trying to fight him. Whatever. He'll just destroy it as easily as the other ones that tried to fight him. He doesn't even stop and ask questions. Immediately, using his telekinesis, Cell lifts all of Paragus' soldiers in the air, and with a single flick of his wrist, he kills them all. The only one left alive is Paragus himself. And understandably, he's terrified, running back into his ship, trying to escape somehow. But before he can even get to the controls, Cell beats him there with his sheer speed. He stands right in front of Paragus, looking down at him and laughing. Paragus has no idea what to do. He tries punching Cell, but of course it does nothing, and if anything, it just hurts Paragus' fist. He asks Cell to please spare him. He was just here looking for Vegeta, not him. He wasn't trying to start a fight or anything. Wait a second, Vegeta? Cell knows that name, obviously. Why is this guy here trying to fight Vegeta? Cell analyzes him further, and then he notices, not only does his hair look like a Saiyan, but he has a tail like a Saiyan. Huh, there was another Saiyan out in space somewhere looking for Vegeta. But Cell doesn't really care. He tells Paragus that Vegeta is his prey. And not to mention, he tells Paragus he's definitely not strong enough to fight Vegeta. He lifts up a finger and charges a beam, ready to kill Paragus. And he asks why he's here for Vegeta. Panicked, Paragus begins explaining, and says that he does actually have a plan to defeat Vegeta. He wasn't going to fight Vegeta himself, no. He actually had a strong weapon, a powerful opponent that even Vegeta couldn't handle. He was going to lure Vegeta away, getting him into a false sense of security. Okay, Cell doesn't care about any of this, but what Paragus said about that other warrior does intrigue him. He has another strong fighter out there, ready to fight Vegeta. This really catches his attention. If it's a strong enough person to fight Vegeta, it might be a good match for Cell. Granted, Vegeta wasn't really a good match for Cell to begin with, but at least he did put up somewhat of a fight. And we all know Cell. He loves a good fight, and this would be right up his alley. Plus, it is in the middle of the 10-day waiting period for the Cell games, and he is kind of bored. He even said so himself. He was bored waiting that whole time. This could be a nice change of pace, and he could be back by the time the time period ends. So he proposes a deal with Paragus. He'll spare him, as long as he gets to fight that warrior that Paragus was talking about. Paragus stammers and is about to ask what about Vegeta, but he knows he probably shouldn't ask that because Cell will kill him. He has no other option. But hey, worst case scenario, BROLY will just kill this guy, and then they can come back for Vegeta once more. Reluctantly, Paragus agrees to this deal. Cell doesn't obliterate Paragus right away, and Cell gets to fight BROLY. It's a pretty good win for both of them. But he tells Paragus one thing. He tells Paragus not to try any funny tricks. They're going to be on a spaceship alone in the middle of space, and sure, he could try and throw Cell off the ship, but Cell can survive in space, so there's no way Paragus is going to get rid of him by now. But Cell kicks back and relaxes on the spaceship as Paragus pilots it back to new planet Vegeta. And Cell's pretty content. Worst case scenario, he'll just fly back to Earth, although he might be a little late for his own Cell game, so hopefully this makes it quick. After some time, they arrive on new planet Vegeta. Cell looks around, interested in this place. So, this was the trap he was leading Vegeta into? Well, yeah, Paragus explained some more. This is supposed to look like another planet Vegeta. It's meant to look like a place that Vegeta could rule over, but really, it's all a front. He was going to have him fight BROLY. Alright, now Cell asks, where is BROLY? Paragus is still kind of nervous about this whole situation. But again, Cell will kill him if he doesn't comply, so he introduces BROLY to Cell. Cell's first impression of BROLY is kind of boring. I mean, he doesn't look too strong, and he looks kind of mellow if anything. He's awkward and quiet, and he doesn't look too strong. And now Paragus is getting a little more confident. He tells Cell not to worry, and sticks BROLY on him. The two begin battling, with BROLY in base, still kinda unsure why he's fighting Cell. From what Paragus was telling him, he was from the same place that Vegeta was from, and before they kill Vegeta, they need to get through this obstacle. Cell's kinda bored with this fight. With BROLY just in base, it's not really that entertaining. He wonders if BROLY can transform at all. I mean, all the Saiyans on Earth can transform into Super Saiyan, so can this guy? Paragus was mentioning that he had some uncontrolled anger. So maybe Cell's gonna have to make him angry somehow, trying to get him to tap into the anger, and maybe that'll let him transform. So he begins thinking, what'll piss this guy off? Maybe talking about Vegeta a bit. He begins having a casual conversation with BROLY, or as casual as you can get while having a deathmatch. Cell actually lets BROLY on a little secret. He's actually an android bioengineered from the DNA of other Saiyans, as well as other people on Earth. He tells BROLY he's part Frieza. Maybe that'll strike a nerve. BROLY doesn't really care about Frieza. He tells BROLY that he's part Vegeta, but he probably wouldn't really care about that either as much. And this might be a long shot, but Cell mentions there's one other Saiyan in his DNA. He doubts BROLY would know him, but his Saiyan name is Kakarot. He has DNA from Kakarot and he was out to kill him, or better known by his Earthling name Goku, which BROLY wouldn't know of course. Cell only mentions this in passing, but BROLY's reaction to this is very telling. Wait, Kakarot? And Cell is just as surprised. He knows Goku? Cell smirks. Yeah, part of his DNA is from Kakarot, and he was actually built just to kill him. It's one of his main goals actually. He wants to kill Goku in a fight. And as you probably expect, this would piss off BROLY to no end. Cell isn't sure why, but he can sense BROLY's power surging. It begins swelling up within him, and he even sees BROLY's hair stand up as a new aura appears around him. BROLY is furious. Not just because Cell is part Kakarot, but mainly because Cell says he's going to kill Kakarot. This power-up actually catches Cell kinda off guard, and BROLY's able to land a few punches. Perfect. Looks like Cell's not gonna have to hold back anymore. As BROLY begins charging more and more power, he tells Cell one thing. Kakarot is his prey. He's going to kill Kakarot. That Saiyan will die by his hand. He shouts as he powers up once more. The entire sky changes color as everyone's surrounded by a green glow. Cell starts chuckling. This is exactly what he wanted. This is the power that he's been hiding. And as the power-up completes, he looks on in awe at BROLY's new form. It looks kinda like a Super Saiyan, although he's more bulked up than usual, and his hair is green. Also, his eyes, they lack pupils of any sort. But this must have been what Paragus was referring to. Cell looks over to Paragus and sees him cowering in fear. He even briefly tried to stop BROLY from powering up, but of course it didn't work. Cell looks back at the Saiyan, ready for round 2. And BROLY smirks. The two launch towards each other and begin clashing midair. And as of now, the two are a pretty good match for each other. Although, BROLY continues powering up as he fights. This isn't the end of his power. The more he battles, the more he grows. The stronger he gets and the more he learns. And instead of this being a one-sided battle, it turns into an even fight. Cell even comments on their power. BROLY completely closed the gap between them. Although he mentions BROLY's rage, if he's gonna fight like that, he's gonna lose focus, he's gonna get sloppy during the battle, and Cell's gonna be able to win. BROLY tells Cell not to get too cocky. He'll slaughter Cell, and he's confident about it. As they continue dueling, Cell begins noticing BROLY is actually growing a bit stronger. It's not enough to be concerning at first, but as the fight goes on, he notices it more. But Cell also kinda gets an idea. Maybe he can try and take some energy from BROLY. If he's able to stab him somehow, he can grab some of his DNA, try and absorb this power for himself, or at least restore some of his own energy. Mid-fight, he extends his tail out, curving it around behind BROLY, stabbing him right in the back. And he does get some energy from it, but quickly BROLY notices, grabbing Cell's tail, ripping it out, and then swings Cell around by his tail. Cell got a little taste of it though, and this power was pretty impressive. BROLY continues swinging Cell around, flinging him to the ground. As Cell gets back up, he laughs. He has a new plan. BROLY launches towards him and Cell throws up a barrier. And as he does so, his tail comes out once again, and he begins doing something weird. He begins giving birth. Well, not really. He begins creating Cell Juniors. Cell continues creating barriers as he does this, but BROLY breaks through each one of them. And eventually he does reach Cell, but just as he does, Cell jumps out of the way, and a bunch of Cell Juniors swarm BROLY. Of course, they're no real threat to him. More so, they're a distraction, which is exactly what Cell planned. With a single hit, BROLY's able to eliminate each one of them. Although they are able to hit him with some attacks, using Piccolo's Makanko Sappo, using Krillin's Kienzan, stuff like that. And these are pretty strong attacks, and once they do hit BROLY, they actually do leave some marks. But the Cell Juniors immediately die right after it. Cell's about to create more Cell Juniors, but then BROLY grabs him, swinging him around, flinging him up into the atmosphere. Cell's about to stop himself, but this might actually be a good trick. As he continues flying through the atmosphere, he finds himself then out in space, with BROLY launching up towards him. This guy must be stupid. There's no way he's gonna survive out here with Cell. But as BROLY gets closer and closer, Cell then realizes that it might actually be the case. BROLY lands a powerful hit, dealing some significant damage to Cell. How is he surviving out in space? This is ridiculous. And BROLY now has a huge upper hand. By now he's grown so strong, he's actually able to damage Cell pretty easily. Cell begins regenerating more and more, but at some point it becomes too much. BROLY charges up Ki in his hand, rushing towards Cell with a gigantic meteor. It hits Cell head on, and the explosion is massive. From the planet below, Paragus is watching. Everyone down there sees a giant green glow in space, and it seems that Cell has no chance of surviving this. The explosion even shakes the planet a bit, but slowly it dissipates, and BROLY floats out in space, laughing. What a pathetic excuse for a foe. He turns around, about to head back to the planet, but then senses something odd behind him. He turns around and he sees nothing. at least at first. But then, where that explosion occurred, some sort of ball begins growing, pieces begin generating out of it, and eventually even forming a face. Arms and legs pop out of it. And then the regeneration completes. It's Cell. He somehow survived. And the craziest part is, he seems even stronger than before. Cell laughs maniacally. Broly didn't kill him. Cell tells him about his core. As long as that's not destroyed, he's able to survive any attack. And that's exactly what happened. He was able to protect his core just enough for it to survive. But surprisingly enough, not only did he regenerate from this, but he got stronger. Sparks of electricity course around him. This isn't perfect Cell anymore. This is super perfect Cell. Broly doesn't care though. He goes back to Cell to attack, but Cell easily dodges, appearing behind Broly, hitting him with a powerful kick to the back of his neck. This sends Broly flying into a nearby moon, crashing into it leaving a giant crater, with enough force to even move the moon a bit. Angered, Broly stands back up and launches himself off the moon. He tackles Cell, but Cell hits Broly right in the gut with a punch. Broly coughs up a bit of blood, as Cell then grabs his arm, swings him around, and flings him into an opposite direction. He's heading right towards a nearby star, and he stops himself just in time. Broly screams, but it can't be heard in the vacuum of space. Although Cell sees him powering up, a green aura appears around him once more, and he can sense this from far away. And once again, Broly rushes towards Cell, with Cell doing the same. Paragus watches on with amazement from the planet below. He can't really see what's going on, but he sees two streaks of energy flying across the sky, and the two of them eventually clash, creating a massive shockwave that once again shakes the entire planet. Cell lets Broly in on another little secret. Not only did he get stronger from regenerating, but he also has access to Broly's DNA now. It gave him more data, it made him a little bit stronger, and it seems now the two are on par. The two engage in a massive battle, and it basically happens across the entire solar system around new planet Vegeta. Their speed is insane. Anytime one of them gets attacked, they almost get flung into other planets. Broly wraps his arms around Cell, as he rockets towards a nearby planet, ready to drive Cell right into it. They fly towards it at insane speeds, with Broly holding out Cell in front of him, using him as a shield. They collide with the planet, flying right through it, with the planet itself even exploding. Once they get through the other side of it, Broly grabs onto Cell's leg, flinging him into the exploding core of the planet. As Cell flies towards the molten core, he actually uses it to his advantage. He curves around midair, going behind it. Using telekinesis, Cell then launches the core at Broly, and Broly counters with his own attack, as the core of the planet explodes in the middle of space. It spews hot molten everywhere, and Broly looks around but he can't find Cell. But he then feels a sharp pain in his chest, as a small beam bursts through it, a Makanko Sappo. Cell used the core's explosion as a distraction, and surprisingly, Broly's not dead from that attack. This guy's incredibly tough. But now Cell thinks it's about time to end this fight. With blood gushing from his chest, Broly then charges up another blast. He's fuming with anger. He's completely forgotten about Kakarot too. He's only focused on murdering Cell. He charges a small green ball in his hand, and he flings it towards Cell. The ball grows in size slowly, as Broly channels more and more energy into it, and Cell's ready to counter it. Blue energy swirls around him as he prepares a solar Kamehameha. This won't just kill Broly, it'll destroy the entire solar system around them, maybe even more. He launches the Kamehameha, colliding with Broly's attack. The two enter a beam struggle, and this only angers Broly more and more. He puts more energy into his blast, with Cell doing the same. The planet they just destroyed, all the debris is completely obliterated from this blast. And once again, it illuminates new planet Vegeta in an eerie glow. But the beam struggle doesn't last for long. Eventually, it results in an explosion. And not any normal explosion. It basically creates a supernova. All the planets around them explode, being disintegrated by the energy and the heat. Broly takes significant damage from it, as does Cell. Broly sent flying into a nearby star, trying to launch one last blast at Cell, but failing to do so. Cell's catapulted backwards into the vacuum of space. Completely broken and beaten, he watches as Broly heads towards that star. He knew that even if his beam didn't work, it would at least send Broly flying in this direction. A small green glow bursts from the star, as it then explodes. Another supernova occurs, exploding but making no sound. Cell floats throughout space somewhat peacefully. His arms were obliterated and he's badly injured, but he's alive, through a combination of his intelligence, his abilities, and by stealing some of Broly's power, he was able to win, but only barely. And as the broken Cell floats throughout space, this is where the story ends. So, what did you guys think about this battle? Do you think it should have gone any differently? Leave any thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. I'll be sure to check them out to see what you guys think. As always, if you liked the video, be sure to drop a like. And let's try to hit that like goal from the beginning of the video. It'll let me know you guys want to see more videos like this one. If you haven't already, why not subscribe? As well as hitting the bell icon to get notified about any future uploads on my channel, including more videos like this one. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.